Consideration of approval of a contract with ICF Jones and Stokes, Inc. for preparation of the Virgin River Habitat Conservation Plan. Possible action. Mr. Willis.
Good evening, Mayor, City Council, John Willis, City of Mesquite. This contract is to provide scientific and technical support for the completion of the HCP and the EIS. All the funding associated with this contract is fully reimbursed through Fish and Wildlife Service. Staff's available to answer any questions.
Thank you. Councilman Hayden.
Would you just, for the public's benefit, explain just the workings and the cost of this, and what we're still ultimately trying to prove when we do this contract?
Yeah, Fish and Wildlife Service, they require us to back up all the information scientifically. And so this contract will help provide that assistance. One of the main functions of this contract is also the EIS. And the EIS has to be done by another agency that's not associated with the city. They would consider it a conflict of interest if the city produced this EIS. And so it's almost an outside agency needs to produce this on behalf of Fish and Wildlife Service. And so this will be one of the main functions of this contract in ICF. And the goal, of course, is to provide coverage for desert tortoise and have everything covered underneath this one plan.
And the amount of the contract, it is fully reimbursable from Fish and Wildlife?
It is, so none of the funding source for this contract will come out of the general fund. All of it will come from Fish and Wildlife Service, and it will be reimbursed.
Councilman Rapson.
Probably reiterating the obvious, but this is a necessary step to arrive at our one plan, one fee.
Yes, it is. We need to provide that scientific backing that will allow Fish and Wildlife Service to make the determination that we can include the species and what our impacts are. So this is crucial for us to move forward in that one plan, one fee.
What would be the timeline? Do you have any estimate of the timeline to when we actually have a plan?
I think with the current schedule, I think they're pushing 2015.
Early, late?
Late. And that's, a lot of it is going through process. It's going to have to go back to the regional office, Fish and Wildlife Service regional office. There's also going to be a 90-day public review period that's also included. And so there's these processes that we do have to go through, unfortunately, that causes a lot of those delays.
How long is the EIS process? Just how long,
Once we prepare the documents, we have to then provide that 90-day public review period. And then from there, it has to go to their regional office, have Fish and Wildlife Service solicitors review the document and sign off on it. And so we're hoping that everything goes in line with one another. So once we get our permit, the EIS is complete, and we can kind of conclude on that all at one time.
So there's several pieces running parallel. It's not one after the other.
Yep. One's dependent on the other. So as we know, the HCP then needs to be reflected in the EIS and determine what all those alternatives are. Yes.
You're not going to commit tonight what that fee is going to be? We're going to have one plan, but you're not going to commit what the fee is?
I can't at this time.
Any further questions? Councilman Hayden, was that a question?
Ready to make a motion, so no more questions.
Let me check with council. Council, any further? Go ahead, Councilman Hayden.
Mayor, I move for approval of the contract with ICF Jones and Stokes, Inc. for preparation of the Virgin River Habitat Conservation Plan.
We need a second.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Call for the vote. That motion carries. Thank you. Agenda item 17 is consideration of approval of the 2013-2016 labor agreement between the City of Mesquite, Nevada and General Sales Drivers, Delivery Drivers, and Helpers, and representing the Public Sector Teamsters Local Union Number 14 Non-Supervisory Bargaining Unit, and the 2013-2016 labor agreement between the City of Mesquite, Nevada and General Sales Drivers, Delivery Drivers, and Helpers, and representing the Public Sector Teamsters Local Union Number 14 M1 and M2 Class Supervisor Bargaining Units. We did this. Ms. Hunt.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. Staff is presenting it to you tonight for approval. This is after negotiations with Teamsters. Teamsters voted on this and ratified it. And so we're asking for your approval. And I'd also like to comment that the stewards from the city that represented the Teamsters did a great job. They worked hard to get this approved and to benefit the employees and yet help the city budget. So they did a great job.
Any questions from Ms. Hunt? Councilman Rapson?
I thought it was important that we essentially echo what the city attorney just said. This was a long process, and it was a very contentious process at the start. When we all cut through the chaff and we got face to face with our people and their people, things began to move. And I want to thank all the firefighters, all the stewards, the Teamsters, everybody that was involved in this, and hopefully we can do the same thing in the next round of negotiations. But it was well done, and I think Councilman Green said it at one point, when you reach an agreement where nobody is 100% thrilled with it, it's probably a fair agreement. And I have to echo that. I think everybody made some concessions, and I think we got to a pretty reasonable agreement given the circumstances. And hopefully we can do that going forward with the next 2 rounds.
Thank you, Councilman. Any further questions or comments from council? I'll go ahead and echo what Councilman Rapson said. Councilman Haven and I have sat through many of those meetings. We appreciate all the stewards did to move this forward, and we appreciate their sacrifice, and we understand where you're coming from. We just want to deal fairly with everybody, and we appreciate you, and we will move forward with that. Seek a motion. Councilman Rapson.
Let me find my thing here. I move to approve the contract.
Excuse me, both contracts? There are 2.
Oh, there we go. Approve the 2013 through 16 labor agreements for the non-supervisory bargaining unit and the M1 and 2 class supervisory bargaining unit.
Thank you.
Second.
Overshot the runway.
Call the vote.